Hey, Tim Sykes here. I hope you're having a good weekend. Today's video lesson is basically going to be an FAQ about scaling in and out of positions and testing. You have to think of yourself as a scientist. That is the secret to success in the stock market. You're testing, 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 and refining your process over time. That's why I say when you first begin, it doesn't even matter if you're making or losing that much money because you're trying to find your process. And this all came up from my student Dux. DUX is his Profitly username. His name is Stephen Dux. He's my latest challenge student to cross 600,000 in profits. He actually just had another great week. He posted his trades on Friday, and he was saying, he made roughly $5,000 per day. And many of you guys are asking me questions. How do I get to this level? Understand that if you look at Dux's profit chart, it takes time. And, he's been a challenge student for nearly a year, and he did not have $5,000 days in the beginning. So you have to look at his account very differently now than at the beginning. And many of you guys, ideally, are at the beginning of this chart. You cannot make $5,000 per day when you first start. If you have like $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000 account, I don't teach gambling. This is not some BS get rich quick kind of thing. The way to make $5,000 per day is when you have hundreds of thousands of dollars. And when you are at that level, then you can make a lot more trades. You can take bigger positions. More important than just the bigger positions, you can actually also, guess what? Scale in and scale out. If you look at Dux's trades where he made 5,000. He's making 30 trades on a stock, 39 trades, 124 trades in one day. And I'm glad that several of you brought this up because you cannot do that when you have a small account. The PDT rule, which I think frankly is a good thing, it helps newbies, not overtrade, not blow themselves up, and it makes you focus on the best trades. You cannot do 124 trades in a day. You can't even do 12 trades. You can't even do 5 trades. So scaling in and scaling out is a luxury afforded to people with big accounts. And while many of you guys with small accounts, you want that, it takes time. You have to learn and you have to earn the right to trade with a big account. And I should also mention that it's good that you don't have that luxury right away. When you're first starting, you need to focus on learning. You need to focus, how can you grow a small account into a six-figure account? And it's not necessarily through scaling in and scaling out. That's just a little luxury once you actually get there. So for now, many of you guys just need to study. And that's why this is the final 2 days of this Profitly sale. All these DVDs, all these newsletters, no more. This year, you might know that I'm actually trading with several different size accounts. And again, I have to apologize for my Friday trading. It's been a while since I've been trading with a big account, and I got a little sloppy on Friday. I had some small gains on RWLK. Those of you in my challenge webinar know that I scaled in. And that was, again, a luxury that allowed me to have the profits because, frankly, I was wrong on it. I know some people are long the stock over the weekend because they're awaiting a press release. It's probably not a bad trade, but it didn't really act the way that I wanted it to. So I'm glad that I'm out. And again, it was an accidental sell. You challenge students, watch the webinar. I'm trading and giving this webinar on 2 different laptops because of technical issues, and I'm talking and I'm trying to trade and just doing too much. So this was a screwed up trade. The better version, the better trade to talk about was on HEAR, where again, I was wrong that it was not going to break the multi-month highs of 170. I thought that it would. I tried to scale in. I tried to buy a few separate times to give it the maximum amount of time because, again, I still think of myself as a scientist and I'm trying to, be more patient. One of my biggest problems is lack of patience. And sometimes I make 5, 10, 20%, and then the stock goes up 50, 100%. So when I think that there's a good potential breakout, like I did on HEAR, I'm going to try to add a few times to give it the maximum amount of time possible for it to try to break out. But when it failed to break 170, several times, it failed to go, red to green on the day, and then it also failed to break 170, even though pre-market it got up to 179. So there was like a glimmer of hope pre-market. But when the market opened, it could not go green, which, it closed at 171. So it couldn't even get to 172. And then there was a wall of sellers at 170. So while I'll scale in, when the stock does not break a key level that I needed to break for me to have more patience, I get out. And I was fortunate to get out in the 160s because I think a lot of people were watching that key 170 level and it just didn't work out. And again, I made a few hundred, this is crumbs on an $800,000 account. I made nearly 5 grand on the week and it was terrible trading. So those of you with small accounts, I know you want to trade with a big account, but learn from me that I still need to work on my big account trading. It's a skill trading with a big account versus trading with a small account. So while I know many of you guys want to make this 5,000 in a day, trust me, if you stick with it and you stay on your plan and you stay on your path, you'll get there eventually. But there is no rush. And it's actually much better to gradually build your account so that you can get better accustomed to scaling in and, scaling out and getting the luxury of a few more trades. But you can't just go from $2,000 or $5,000 to, 600,000 or a million in trading profits or in managing that account size. It's really, really tough. And I know this is kind of a weird little lesson, but it's important that you see this. It's important that you understand that there's different games being played here. And so I'm really looking forward to my 2 different accounts in 2017, showing how I grow my $5,000 account, never scaling in, never scaling out. The only time I actually used multiple executions and I actually had to waste a trade was when VBIO was spiking too quick and it blew through my limit order. So I actually had to buy it twice, even though normally I wouldn't want to do that on a small account. Normally on a small account, you want to save your day trades. You want to conserve your trades. There is no scaling in or scaling out. But when a stock is moving too fast, sometimes you have to change your order. But I would never trade 124 times or even 12 times with my small account. So you'll start seeing that as it gets clearer with, I'll label my video lessons differently. This is my big account trade. This is a small account trade. And you can see the difference and you can compare and contrast. It'll be basically the same strategy. It's going to be the same patterns. That's not going to change. It's just the way that I trade them, the way that I enter and exit. So understand that there's a difference. And with that in mind, understanding that this is, about testing, I'm proud to introduce actually something that I think is going to be really useful for you. My friend is giving a free webinar on how to make 7 figures per year online, not in the stock market, but in the online business. And some of you guys know this, some of you guys don't, but I, am not just a stock trader. I'm a multitasker, okay? When I'm stock trading, that's cool. Sometimes I'm giving a webinar and I'm trading, and that wasn't very cool Friday as I screwed up a little too much. But I try to teach multiple strategies and I try different things. And I've had a lot of success building my online business, not just building my online accounts. So I got my friend to basically give you a free webinar. He doesn't like doing it, but I was like, what you do is really special and unique. And frankly, I think my students can learn a lot. So I'll be posting this link later today. I just want you to understand where it's coming from. You should not limit yourself to just one strategy. You don't just have to be a stock trader in life. I know that there are some narrow-minded people where they're like, Tim, you should just be a trader or a teacher. You shouldn't do both. Like, why? Most millionaires that I know have multiple streams of income. You don't have to just stay all in one field. And frankly, I think that whenever there's an inefficiency or whenever there's opportunity in a fast-growing industry, whether it's the stock market, which is a booming bull market right now, or online or social media, I think you should learn. I also teach how to make money on Instagram using Wolf Millionaire. But now this is my friend's free webinar, no risk whatsoever, and I encourage you to check it out. You don't have to love it, you don't have to partake, but it's totally free. That's why I'm really proud to present this to you. And I think that you should really start to learn how to test different stuff. See what works for you. Again, see how stock trading does. See, if you like going long or short. See if you like dip buying or buying morning spikes or shorting morning spikes. There's different patterns in the stock market and there's different industries in the world, and you have to test and refine and see what fits you and your personality best. It's not just about the money. It's about, doing what works best for you and your schedule and your personality, because we're all different. So try to keep an open mind. I know this is going to be tough for some of you. You're going to be like, how dare you bring a different industry into this? I only want to learn stock trading from you, no other industry. Well, be a little open minded, okay? Because I think that when you start thinking, wait a minute, I'm a scientist, I'm willing to try anything and try any strategy in pursuit of, finding some cool stuff, that really opens the world up to you. And I'm proud to try to open your mind. I know that trading, is addictive. I know it's all consuming. I know that many people think that you have to be purely a trader and nothing else. And I just don't agree. I'm a big fan of trying new stuff and seeing what works. And, my friend, I've been working with him for quite a while. He's legit. He makes some serious money, and he has a lot of good content. And on this free webinar, he'll explain to you how he makes 7 figures per year. And I think it's always worth learning something new, even if you don't get into it. It's kind of just like a free book. Even if you don't want to partake in his strategy, that's fine. No one's forcing you. But I do think that you should learn different stuff. So I'll post a link to his free webinar just under this video, and I'll post it in an email too. But it's pretty cool. And we filmed this little video with my Ferrari and my Lambo, and this is my buddy's Aston Martin too. So just get inspired. There's so much money to be made, and there's so big of a world out there, but you do need strategy. You can't do this all yourself. So I got to give props one more time to Steven Dux. Thank you again for sharing your screenshots and your success. To everybody else hitting him up, please let him be a little bit. I see so many messages to him, and I cringe at this because I'm the one who told you about, my newest $600,000 plus profit student. But let him trade, okay? I want him to be a millionaire student. And he's too nice to say it, but I'm not necessarily that nice. So I will say, please cut him some slack. Don't overwhelm him with questions during the market hours. Even after the market hours, he's tired, he's stressed. I don't want you burning him out. I have some students where, frankly, they don't want to talk about their success because they see that everyone is going to overwhelm them and they want their privacy. So try to think a little bit about him and not so much about what you want. He's not, a professional teacher. He's just one of my students, and frankly, he's been very generous with his time and answering a lot of questions. But do me a solid and do me a favor and don't overwhelm him. And I'm going to come down hard on some of you guys this week if I keep seeing you messaging him, dozens of times. Like, insane. Like, he doesn't work for you guys. Like, he doesn't work for anybody. He works for himself. Let him focus. I mean, he's making 100 trades a day. He needs to focus. If you do want to learn from Dux, I'm very proud of him also that you can go on Profitly here. Sorry, I'm in slow Wi-Fi, Bill. And you can see he actually has some videos here too. And this is a good video lesson that he's posted for everybody to look at. So you can learn from his videos. Again, his username is Dux, D-U-X on Profitly. Learn from him, see what he's doing right. Give him a congratulations, but again, please don't overwhelm him. Also, just to wrap up, just to summarize, understand that you do not have to make 100 trades in a day to make this kind of money. But when you do have 6 figures, you can afford the luxury of scaling in and scaling out and testing so that you don't have to get like the perfect entry or the perfect exit. It's easier to scale in and scale out, but when you have a small account, you cannot do that. So don't try. Don't try to make all these trades in one day, and then guess what? You're hit under the PDT rule and you can't trade. Even if you're not under the PDT rule, I know some of you guys aren't. Please, if you have a small account, don't trade this much because the commissions are going to add up. Or even if the commissions don't add up, you're going to just learn the wrong stuff. You're going to try to make these small gains. You're like, well, Tim, small gains add up. And you're going to take crappy opportunities and you're going to try to scalp. And I've never really met a consistently successful scalper. They have some success, and then one stock or two stocks go against them too quickly and they can't cut losses and they lose 1 month, 2 months, 1 year, 2 years of work for all that scalping. So be very careful with the pitfalls of trying to do different stuff. I've tried to give you a guide of the strategies and patterns that work best for me, and you'll see this year how I trade my $5,000 account differently than my $1 million account. And my $5,000 account, by the way, is already at 6,000 after a week. and I did not do great trades. I wasted some trades, but as you can see, it works. So stay tuned. I want everybody in the chat room tomorrow morning, 9:15 a.m. or 9 a.m. Eastern. Be there before the market opens. Let's be prepared. I'm sure there'll be a few morning spikers. ETRM just keeps going. This is the latest one. NTFU is another one. MJPI is another one. I mean, we have so many supernovas, so many plays. So get excited, be thankful and grateful for this bull market. And then also, just a reminder, check out this free webinar from my buddy who makes 7 figures online. Not stock trading, not MLM BS, just a cool little strategy that he uses. And I think that you can find some value in it, especially because it's free. So there's no risk. You can hate him. You could watch it and be like, oh, this isn't for me. That's cool. But always be open to learning new strategies. That's really been one of the secrets to my success, where I saw opportunity to teach because frankly there's so many scams out there who teach and they're not real. They don't show their losses, and I just have to be real. And you can see, if you watch Friday's video lesson, I was not a great trader, not even a good trader on Friday, but I admit it. I'll learn from it. Hopefully you can learn from it. And, again, we're all just testing, refining, and trying to get better over time. That is the secret to success, no matter what industry you're in. Have a good rest of the weekend, and I'll see you in the chat room tomorrow. Thank you.